Hello. Uh, Finally getting around to doing this video. I've been talking about doing it for a while, and well, finally got some time to getting around to it. So I'll just kind of dive into it. I'll do it in two parts. I'll talk about the expenses, which is really what most people want to know about. Expenses, the initial move, the move in expenses once you get here, and then extra expenses after you're moved in. And I've kind of broken it up into three parts, and I'll kind of give a total for each one and then a final total of everything at the end. And it's important to know that it's going to be different for everybody based on your situation, which specific area that you're going to in Florida, and even if you're going down south but to a different state. But a lot of this can apply to different states as well if it's a comparable distance. So, um, right. And it's important, first of all, to know where it is that you want to go, what area suits you best, and which particular you should already have a good idea of what state you want to go to if you're planning a cross country move, but then what city is really going to have the best opportunities for you and your family if you're moving down there with a family. So I'll get all into all that later, but so the expenses for me, I did things a lot cheaper than most people are able to do because it was just me and my daughter moving down here. So, like a lot of the times, people will get a 26-foot truck, and if they got some cars to move, usually their spouse or someone will drive one car down, they'll tow another car behind the truck. And basically, that truck, a big 26-foot truck, with a U-Haul trailer towing it behind it, going across country. They usually have a flat rate based on the location you're going from and to. They'll have a flat rate that includes 6 days and X amount of miles, which is usually far more than you need. That's how kind of the one way moves work with U-Haul or Penske or other comparable companies. So, I mean, for a 26-foot truck and towing a car behind it, you're looking at a cost of about $2,300 moving across the country from Minnesota to Florida. That's what it would have cost me. Plus, with what gas prices are now, it'd cost you about $800 in fuel one way. But on to how I did it. I recommend that if you have an SUV or a truck of some sort that can pull an enclosed trailer, whether it be U-Haul or something else, go that route because you're going to save a ton of money, and that's what I did. And oh, before I get into the cost, actually, the number one most important thing you can do for a cross country move: downsize, purge whatever isn't absolutely necessary. Downsize, downsize, downsize. That is the most important thing that you're going to be able to do to make your move easier and less expensive. And because me, I'm a borderline minimalist, I don't really feel the need to have a lot of things. I was able to shrink down my belongings into a 12-foot U-Haul trailer and what else extra could fit in the back of my SUV. So a 12 foot by 6 foot U-Haul trailer, or maybe it was 12 by 7. Well, it was 12-foot trailer either way. And basically, what that cost was it was about $650, and because it's just a trailer, there's no mileage charge, no extra fuel charge, and whatever, whatever. It was $650. I bought the top level insurance, so it came out to about 700. So there's $700 for the moving equipment, which all I had was the trailer. Uh, the fuel for the SUV, pulling that trailer fully loaded from Minnesota to Florida, was $300 compared to $800 in fuel what the U-Haul truck would have taken. Because even pulling the trailer, the SUV still managed to average about 17.8 miles per gallon all the way down to Florida. So that saved a lot of money right there. It was another about $260 in fuel. I had a friend of mine drive the Fiero behind me, Adam Hawkins. Shout out to you. Thank you very much. And then, yeah, so $260 in fuel for that. It was $150 for a plane ticket. I think it was 150 thereabouts to uh, fly him back to Minnesota after I got all my stuff moved into the place and got the cars parked and everything. Um, Before I left, I rented a dumpster. I think it was for a week or two to just get rid of old furniture that wasn't too valuable and that I just didn't need. And that was $325. Then, after I filled that, about a week before the move, I also called one of those haul your junk people that, they show up with a kind of a one of those flatbed trucks with the, I don't know, crate sidings or whatever. They haul your junk away and they charge you based on how much it is, blah, blah, blah. I spent about $125 on that. And then I was finally downsized into just enough to cram that 12-foot trailer full. Um, so there's that. Uh, Food and drinks during the trip on the way down there was about $100. I was originally planning on a day and a half to 2 days to complete the move down there, but because we barely stopped at all and only we made the whole drive on a half-hour rest in between. That's it. So we didn't spend as much on food and drinks as I thought we were going to. So that was only $100. So all that added up, it was a total of $1,910. That's just to get the trailer, get everything loaded up, and physically get down there. $1,910. Now, all in everything, that is less than just the rental of a U-Haul truck would have cost. So that was a ton of money saved right there. It very easily could have cost another $2,500 to $3,000 more if I had gone that route. But keep in mind that that isn't going to be an option for everybody. Some people have a lot more things and aren't going to be able to downsize as much as I have. So it's based on your situation, but there are various different ways that you can cut costs. And if you have a pickup truck that can haul a pretty good amount of weight, then being able to find a trailer to rent one way, even if you have to find one that's bigger than the U-Haul trailer, that will save a ton of money. And a cross country move, you save money wherever you can. So that's initial moving costs, moving expenses. That this is to get into the place once you're here. So most people that move across the country, they're going to start out by renting because honestly, in my opinion, that's the smart thing to do because you want to make sure that you can come down here and check out the area before you move, but to get a really good feel of whether or not it's the right area for you, and if you truly like it, that you're going to stay here a long term, I think it's smart to rent first for a year before you commit to buying anything. Make sure that this area is what you think it is, and then once your first lease is up, then buy. And that's what I'm doing. So my first, last, and security deposit, it was $3,675 to move in, and that's to get into the place. Now, because I purged most of my furniture up in Minnesota, I had to get new stuff once I get down here. But even so, it's still cheaper to do that, to get stuff once you get here, rather than renting something so big to haul everything. So new used furniture that I got, it was a very large leather sectional couch and a coffee table. I found a pretty cool old Egyptian coffee table that I liked, so spent a little bit on that, and then a TV stand. That's pretty much all I had to buy because I already had my bed and bedroom stuff to come down here with. It was one of the few furniture things I took. So I'm about $500 in for used furniture that I bought once I got here. Complete kids' bedroom setup for my daughter. And I bargain shopped the hell out of this. I scienced it very thoroughly. I got her bedroom set up very nicely for about $250 total. That's everything: bed, a desk for her to do her homeschooling at, all her school supplies, dresser, a little TV stand, and I brought her TV down here from Minnesota, and decorations for the walls, her little shelf thing with these little kind of things that she puts her toys in or whatever. I don't know what to call them. But everything in, $250 for that. And so the moving expenses there, it was $4,425. So that's really the biggest chunk of the move right there. Physically getting down here is not that expensive, but then getting set up once you're here is where all the money goes. Now, expenses after I moved uh, in Florida specifically, you may be going thinking about a different state, but in Florida specifically, the electric deposit in utilities in general, they require you to put a deposit down here when you start new service, irrespective of what your credit is or what your situation is. It's a thing down here. You got to put a deposit down on your utilities. Now for me, because I'm not buying a house and I'm just renting a condo to start, the only utility that I have to pay for is electric. Included with my lease is cable, water, gas, all that good stuff. So electric is the only thing I have to pay, and it was $150 deposit for that. Spectrum internet, it was $50 a month, and startup fees, equipment, one-time fees, blah blah blah. It was about 150 to start up that as well. You're looking at about $300, give or take, depending on how big your family is, to restock your new place with fresh groceries. And that depends too how well you bargain shop. Miscellaneous household items, new garbage can for the kitchen, maybe a little garbage can for the bathroom, toilet paper, new towels, shower curtains, laundry detergent, cleaning supplies, anything that you may need to use around the house. Um, I was about $250 in for all of that. And then I kind of splurged. I didn't bring my TV with to Florida, so I splurged on that. I bought a brand new 75-inch LG TV. I arrived just at the right time when they were having a sale. It was a It was a $1,300 TV, and I got it for 1,000. And then I bought a wall mount setup for it. And when you buy that and a TV there, they come to your house and mount it for you. So the mount was $200. The TV was 1,000. So 1,200 in to buy the TV installed in your home, because putting up a TV that big on the wall, it's really a 2 or 3 person job anyways. Couldn't do it myself. Yeah, so that's most of the expenses for the household after you're moved in. What you also have to do is transfer the titles on your cars, which for me, it can differ based on how much your cars are worth and all that stuff. But what you do need to know is that you have to have proof that you've owned your cars more than 6 months before you go to transfer the title to a Florida title. Otherwise, you'll once you get here, you'll have to pay the taxes on that car in Florida, even though you didn't buy it here. You have to prove that you've owned it for at least 6 months. So I owned the Fiero for about 6 months before I got here, and then I had the my other little car too. So without having to pay the taxes on the cars, what they really get you on is the license plates. So in Minnesota, oftentimes when you buy a car, the person selling the car just leaves the plates on there. If it's got tabs on it, great, you can drive it around for a while, but not in Florida. When you buy a car in Florida or you transfer a car from out of state to a Florida title, you have to buy new plates, and that is $225 just for the plates. And then whenever you sell a car, you take the plates off and you transfer it to another car, and that saves you that money in the future. So, uh, taxes, fees, new license plates, tabs, and all in, it's about $400 per car for me, is what it was. And for the Fiero, because I knew that I wasn't going to sell it, nothing was going to go wrong with it, you have the option to buy 2 years worth of tabs here at a time. And the tabs here expire on your birthday. So it goes off your birthday. So if your birthday is in April, mine for instance is in April, your tabs on every vehicle will expire in April. That's how it works. So about $400 per car, assuming you can prove you owned it at least for 6 months. Another thing you need to know is that your car insurance will increase in Florida, because let's be honest, people in Florida are very, very friendly until they get behind the wheel of their car. Florida drivers, every state likes to think that they have the worst drivers. Come to Florida and try doing less than 90 miles an hour on, say, I-95, and you'll see how crazy people get towards you. So even if you have a clean driving record, your insurance premiums will go up, especially if you own a sports car of any kind. So that has a lot of variables, so I can't really give you a cost on that for your specific situation. But what I do know is my insurance premiums went up about 20%, because as of right now and as of the time that I moved, I had a clean driving record, last 5 years clean. So I already had low insurance premiums to begin with, and now it goes up 20%, which it seems like a lot, but if you already got a low premium to begin with, then it's not going to be so bad. Like I was full coverage, maximum coverage, medical and all that stuff, and lowest deductible. I was paying $200 a month for both cars, full coverage in Florida. So I mean that's not too terrible considering the amount of coverage I have. And the Fiero's got a classic car policy on it for an agreed amount, so it doesn't go off of Blue Book. So I, no questions asked, get the value that I put on it if it were to be wrecked. No questions asked. So the total of all that expenses after getting moved in is $2,850 roughly. That's what it was for me. So it's a lot of variables, especially in that last part, expenses after moving in. It depends on how big your place is, how big your family is, how many cars you have, and all that stuff. But this is just kind of a baseline, and I'm gonna do probably a second video just kind of giving suggestions for different situations other than my own. But this is kind of just baselining what I did personally. So total moving expenses, getting the stuff in Minnesota, the equipment, getting loaded up, physically getting down here, getting moved in, and getting everything I need after I moved in, it cost me $9,185 at approximate give or take 100. So that's where it's at for that. And that's, I think, about as cheap as you're going to be able to move, especially unless you're coming from a one bedroom apartment and you're just moving by yourself with no family, no kids, then you might be able to do it cheaper. But it's really a good baseline before to think about what you're going to need before you get down here. And there's always going to be different expenses that you're not going to think of. God knows there was plenty of things that I forgot about by the time I got here. But however much you think it's going to cost you after you tally everything up, I would say save at least 20% more than what you think it's going to cost. It's always good to have a margin for error because no matter how good of a planner you are, because I usually plan pretty good, no matter how good of a planner you are, you're always going to miss something. Always going to miss something. So it's good to have that extra cushion. And even more than that, even more than 20% if you're able to. The more you save, the obviously the better off you're going to be. So, yeah, a little over 9 grand for me to move. And as far as I'll get into why I decided on Florida and why I moved so suddenly. It's really I really had a few main things that motivated me to do so, but when I really thought about it after getting here, I came up with several more reasons why I belong here and not in Minnesota. Number one, I think this is a top motivator for pretty much everybody that moves down here, or any southern state really, is weather. When I first got here, the very first day I got here, it was 88 degrees. The second day I got here, it was 93 degrees. And a lot of people think, well, what about the humidity? What about the humidity? For the first week that I was here, I checked the weather every single day here in Daytona, and I compared it to the weather in Minnesota, in my city of Montgomery, where I came from. And every single day, the humidity was higher in Montgomery than it was here. So, yeah, Florida has high humidity, but it's no different than the than summers in Minnesota. Minnesota has high humidity just the same. The only difference is that it's a little bit higher humidity in Florida over the course of the winter, but it's not high in the winter anyway. A lot of the times it's 40% in the winter. So you're gonna have high humidity in the summer no matter where you are, whether it be up north or down south. So don't gripe about that. It rains a lot in the kind of the rainy hurricane season. It'll rain. Sometimes it'll rain all week, a little bit each day. It'll drizzle for half hour in the morning. It'll stop. It'll drizzle later in the day, and then it'll stop. And then once you get to about the end of October, then the rain kind of stops, and you go a long time without rain. It's kind of getting into the winter months, and it's really a good it's a good climate because in winter here, the lowest temperature that I ever experienced was 45 degrees. Now, the lowest temperature since I've been here was about 36 on one particular very chilly night by Florida standards. But that's in the middle of the night when nobody's out, like 3 in the morning. And because I work second shift, I don't actually end up going outside until like 9 o'clock in the morning at the earliest. So by then, it's already back in the 60s on most days. So the high temperatures mostly during the winter are mid 60s, 65, 70 is very average throughout the whole winter. You'll have some days in January where it'll be like 52 or 55 during the day, and that's about as cold as it gets. I didn't have a single day since I got here where the high didn't top at least 50 throughout the whole winter. And it was very rare for it to not hit 60. I think I only had about 5 or 6 days total that did that. And then some of my other motivations were that there's no emissions testing on the cars. There isn't in Minnesota either, but with how the government is going, I think they're going to bring it back there eventually, probably sooner rather than later. And there is very, they're very, very supportive of a parent's right to choose here. And when I say that, I'm talking about how you raise your kids, your power as far as what they learn in school. Because I'm homeschooling my child, I have full control over what I teach her. I don't have to follow any curriculum. I can teach her at our own pace, and it can be whatever subjects. I can tailor her schooling specifically to her interests and needs. And it's really, schooling is a great opportunity for your kids down here. It is fantastic. Even if you put her in a public school, there's a lot of good private charter schools down here as well, and there are scholarship programs for that. That's a big motivation there if you have kids. The car culture, the fact that there's two big racetracks within 15 minutes of me, one of them just down the road, Daytona Speedway. There's always automotive related activities. We were just down at Bike Week today, down at Daytona Speedway. Bikes everywhere. If you love bikes, it's a place to be. There's restaurants everywhere, every kind of food you can imagine. There's Buffalo Wild Wings, Applebee's. They got Hooters and Taco Bell and a bunch of different McDonald's, two Dairy Queens, and Tropical Cafe. They got any type of food you want to go eat in Daytona. It's here. They even got an Egyptian restaurant, of all things. So it's a very cultural diverse here in that sense for food. They got Joe's Crab Shack out on the water in the ocean, and so yeah, it's a good place to be. There's a lot of work opportunities down here, and what are some of my other motivations? Well, no state tax. That's a good thing. That makes my paychecks about $150 $200 a week more than what they would have been in Minnesota. So that's a good thing. You got to figure without the state tax, even if you're at the same wage in Florida that you were in Minnesota, you're going to be taking home about $2 an hour more than you would be in Minnesota. So that's a perk right there. Um, yeah, that's I got a lot of other reasons too. It's just it feels like home down here, and some of the questions that I get most often is, a lot of people who move across the country, move away from family, they think, oh, you're gonna have movers guilt. You're gonna feel bad. You're gonna be homesick in the first 6 months. Me, No, I don't. I don't regret it one bit. Every single bit of my life has been better since I got here, and I've been happy ever since. And it's really what I should have done a long time ago, but I just wasn't ready for it yet. So there's that. Another question I get most often is that in the final hours before I moved, on my way down here, and after I first got here, did I ever think that I was going to fail and end up back in Minnesota? Yes, absolutely. I did think of that, and I thought that that may very well have been a possibility. But I went into it with the mindset that if I don't make this move for myself and for my daughter, because I felt it was the right thing to do, if I didn't do this, then I was going to spend the rest of my life wondering what if. Would I have been able to do it? Would it have been a success? Would it have made our lives better? So I went into it and I said, you know what? Screw it. We're doing this. This is what we need. And it has paid off. Bella is much happier. I'm much happier. And this is really where I where we needed to be. And life is so much better here. My video is about to run out on my phone, so I will record a second video. Peace.